Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Born Too Late podcast, where I, Jay Castro, and my friend Josh Rutledge talk to musicians, journalists, broadcasters, label owners, or anyone else making a fuss in the world of underground music right now. This is hopefully going to be the first episode of a series of bands that I like from Phoenix, Arizona, Tempe, Arizona area. Um, I always really like supporting local bands, especially the ones that I like, of course. I did that with Audio Ammunition. I just try to give them as much as exposure as I possibly can. And so I want to continue to do this with this podcast. So my first guest this week, my first Arizona guest this week, is the co-lead vocalist and guitar player for a band called Man Hands, one of the best bands, in my opinion, to ever come out of Phoenix. What caught my ear with this band is their dark, tense songs, which were riddled with catchy melodic riffs that echo in your head for days. Man Hands released 3 LPs in their years of existence. Their self-titled LP in 2012, followed by Misadventures the following year, and finally capped off with 2018's New Malaise. What really sets Man Hands apart what set them apart were their live performances. I was able to catch them a few times in person, and they left all the other bands on the bill in the dust. After that, the musical gears switched a bit for my guest with a project called Jade Helm, a band that was every bit as formidable as Man Hands, but with more of a melancholy shoegaze influence. It's safe to say her track record speaks for itself. The proof is certainly in the pudding. This is the Jackie Cruz episode.
When every day's feeling like a Monday morning, staying out late, kinda gets boring. Do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. I'm getting older by day, younger at night. I need a little something to feel alright. Yeah, do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. Yeah, you do what you wanna when you wanna do something now. Chances are you've made some choices, but I hear no inner voice.
Jackie Cruz,
Hello.
thank you for coming on to the Born Too Late podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course. So how you doing? How you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. Just chilling at home and, got a lot of stuff done today. So, yeah, nothing exciting really. I had a day off. That was good.
So are you originally from Phoenix?
No, I was born in New York, in Brooklyn, but we moved
Oh.
here when I was really little, when I was like a baby. So I'm pretty much a Phoenician at this point.
Do you ever go back to New York?
Yeah, I go back and visit. Not as often as I'd like, but actually this summer I'm supposed to be going with my sister, and we're gonna do a little like sister trip together. So that'll be cool. We have family out there, so every time we go, we do some family stuff, and then we do like fun activities and food and shopping. So
Oh, cool. So what, for someone like me who's never been to Brooklyn, to New York, what would you recommend doing?
I would say, I mean, I don't know a lot of like the cool underground stuff going on out there.
No, I mean like even
but-
like touristy stuff.
But
Like,
you know what? I love Central Park. It's just so big and beautiful, and I feel like historic. There's just so much cool
Mhm.
stuff to see there. And I really love Coney Island too. It's just a fun place to hang out, and the food and the rides. And then Spumoni Gardens is a famous pizza place out there that my
Ah.
family has loved forever. It's my mom's favorite pizza in the world. So I would say those places are all pretty cool. And then the East Village, it's kind of like cool shopping. I remember there's a punk shop out there. I don't know if it still exists, called Search and Destroy. And just kind of like cool vintage punk t-shirts and stuff like that. So
Oh, nice.
I'd say, yeah, a couple cool spots.
Cool. Spumoni Gardens. That's one I'm gonna have to remember.
Yeah, and you got to try the spumoni too. Have you had spumoni?
I don't think so.
It's almost like like a gelato type thing. It's like this
Oh,
creamy, like Italian style ice cream. It's amazing.
oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
you've
for
got to
sure.
try.
I'm gonna write this down actually.
Yeah, you definitely got to try it.
Cool. So let's just jump right in here. Uh, tell me what, if you remember, what like got you into, who or what got you into music, and what band or songwriter made you want to pick up a guitar and start writing songs?
I would say mostly my parents got me into music. There was always music in the house when I was a kid. My dad's a musician. My mom was really
Oh,
involved in the New York punk scene when she was younger. And she used to go to those shows and see Patti Smith and see the Ramones and stuff like that. Like
what?
she got
Oh
to
my
go to like
gosh.
CBGBs and Max's and like hang out there and see these bands before they became like the legends that they became. So I think that was a big part of it. Like my family were all super into music. And my uncle was a great drummer. Both my uncles actually, Uncle Tommy and Uncle Les. I found out years later that my Uncle Les was in this band called the Chandra Dimension, which was kind of like this cool no wave New York style band. Um
Wow.
yeah. So it's a big part of my life and my family. And then I used to take their records and I would like get little stacks of records and bring them into my room and listen to them. And I remember being really fond of like Blondie, Devo, Patti Smith, Joan Jett. Like those were the ones that I like kept with me. Her Clash record. Like for some reason I felt the most connected to those bands. So I think that's kind of what started it all. And then I motivated me to pick up a guitar because I wanted to kind of be like Joan Jett and Chrissy Hind. I thought they were so cool and kind of started dressing like them and trying to have my hair like them. And
And so
yeah,
what age is this?
this was, I would say I became obsessed with the records at about 6 or 7. And then when I
Gosh.
was like maybe 12, my style started to change and I started dressing more punk. I wanted to play guitar. Like I had learned piano. My dad was teaching me piano, but then I switched to guitar and started going to punk shows around that age. So I think at 12 is when I made the transformation into that,
Mm.
into the whole
Hey,
style.
you started on like the right track really early on.
Yeah, I
You didn't
got
have to go,
lucky.
you didn't have to find your way through all those crappy phases, like I did. I had to go through, like my, Duran Duran, Madonna phase, through my hair metal phase, through,
Oh, nice.
you just bypass all of that.
Yeah, but you know what though? I could still get down to some Madonna. Like 80s Madonna, I don't know. She
Oh
was
yeah.
cool. She was cool, but yeah, I think I got lucky that my parents knew what was up, so yeah, at a young age I got exposed to it.
That's cool. Yeah, because my mom was kind of this, not me, not like yours were involved in the punk scene or anything, but I got a lot of my taste in film especially, and music. I mean, she was really into like 60s, like the British invasion stuff, like Kinks and Who and Stones and
Oh, nice.
Faces and like all of that stuff. So yeah, and like you, I'd take the record player and I'd into my room and I'd just grab all those records and try it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the good stuff too. Like those are the jams.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So regarding man hands, can you tell me like the origin story of man hands, like how you guys all uh got together and decided to play music?
Yeah, Mark and I actually met at Georgian Dragon. It was at one of his shows, and a mutual friend, introduced us. And I just thought it was really cool, and we hit it off. Then we actually started dating, and he had played in bands with like a lot of cool people. He had like a really good background in music, and like his brother had been in the Wongs, and he knew all this great music. So I was kind of like, hey, you're a great musician, you know everything that I like, let's start a band. So we did that. And then Matt, I'm trying to remember, I asked Matt, I knew him from his bands in town, and I thought he was a great drummer and also would fit really well. So we asked
He was in a
Matt.
lot of bands too, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Matt's been in a lot of
Yeah.
bands forever. And I remember seeing his bands like back in the day, so I was like, oh, if Matt would want to play with us, that'd be cool. Cause I knew he had great taste in music too. So I was kind of like, all right, all of us together would be a good fit. And it ended up being pretty good. We went through a few different bass players because that was a hard thing for us to find, like someone I don't know that wasn't already so busy and in several bands, and so we cycled through a few different bass players, but right now we have Matt Weiser, who's also really great, and he was in Cherie Cherie and has also played in other bands. So right now this lineup I feel like is like probably our strongest one that we've had.
So Mark Barry, whose brother was? You said his brother was in the Wongs?
Yeah, his brother was is Matt Berry. So he was in the Wongs with like Ryan.
Right.
So
Oh my gosh.
and
I knew his brother.
really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's funny.
It was the weirdest story. So, when the Wongs came out with their first 7-inch, um, I remember getting it and just completely blown away. But A, I thought it was just fantastic, and B, the fact that they were from here
Yeah.
and but only from fucking Yuma. So
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
yeah, so I wrote him yeah, back it was back in the day before, like, email was widely used, but so I like hand wrote him a letter being like, hey, that I'm in Phoenix, I really dig your record and this, and they wrote back like, hey, we're playing in a couple weeks, why don't you come down and interview us for MRR, and you can stay with us, and I'm like, okay. So
Wow.
yeah, so I did. I drove out to Yuma. I stayed with him for like the weekend. I stayed in Ryan's. Like he had like a little like manufactured home, and I remember it was like the summer. It was hot as fuck. I mean, it was sweating, trying to sleep, but all of those guys were like super nice.
Yeah.
Ryan, Daniel, Moondy, Matt, all those guys, just great dudes.
Yeah, it's funny because yeah, I always like looked up to them too in their band. So it was like, I don't know. I was kind of like starstruck when I met them, and then Mark's brothers with one of them, and I'm like, oh,
That's
they're all just like
crazy.
cool punk dudes in the great band, and so yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I I mean, not their live shows. I mean, you got a chance to see them live. Freaking tremendous live band, like you guys.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sometimes I didn't have a lot of confidence in us. I felt like we were just kind of, you know, I don't know. It's hard to describe. I just felt like there were so many great bands in Phoenix and people that we would play with that, you know, I would always get nervous to play, like anxiety.
So what bands were around when you guys started? Do you remember?
I remember playing with like Numbats, or they were called, I think, North Dakota at the time, and then they became Numbats, which I
Okay.
thought were fantastic. They were one of my favorite local bands. And then the Chandales, which were
Oh, I don't
also,
remember
they
them.
were really, really young. I was like surprised. I think they were all teenagers and really good. Gosh, I can't even think of who to compare them to. Uh, just really good punk. The only band
Hmm.
I could think of that comes to my mind right now is the Wipers, but that might not be an accurate kind of description. But gosh, I'm trying to remember other names because there were so many good ones, but it's hard to remember everyone who was playing. JJC and V, they were also
Yeah.
incredible. Like seeing them live, I was like, oh my God, my mind was blown. And then of course, Destruction Unit. Um, yeah, there were a lot of good bands playing kind of when we started. So I would get nervous a lot at shows.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people do, but you guys hold your own.
Oh,
Definitely, you guys held your own. But
thank you.
you know something weird? I never saw Destruction Unit live.
Oh, really?
No, that's one of my
Wow.
few regrets in life.
Dang. You know what? They didn't play a lot. I feel like they were touring a lot of the time, and then
Mm.
every now and then would play Phoenix shows, but it wasn't like they were playing all the time. But yeah, if you ever get a chance, you should see them.
Oh yeah, I've heard Lots.
Yeah.
Lots of the legends of
Yeah.
those live shows.
They're definitely wild.
Yeah.
I
Which is funny
remember.
because, oh,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, at one show, I'm trying to remember if. Oh, you know what? This is not a story I could probably tell on air because it involves some things. But someone I
Okay.
know
After. Just tell me
had to.
after.
Yeah, yeah. Something funny happened at one of their shows.
Okay. Okay. So that's what I call the real interview is when the
Yeah.
recording stops.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, Manhands um doesn't sound like any other local band around here. Did you and the band set out to have kind of like that post-punkish feel? Or is it something that just kind of evolved over time?
I think our songs kind of came together naturally. Like I think just because of our taste in music, it's like maybe we had an idea. Mark would have a song and I would love it. So then I would either try to come up with something for it or yeah, I think it just kind of happened organically. Like we liked like Human Hands and Devo and I know me and Matt were both really into the Minutemen and that style of punk where it wasn't too heavy but it wasn't too light, somewhere in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the songs just kind of naturally came together. I don't think we were trying to sound like anything specific, but we just kind of were influenced by the music we love.
You know what? For some reason, and I'm not saying you guys like I, but when I first heard you guys, thought of Swell Maps.
Oh yeah, yeah, we love Swell Maps.
Oh, cool.
Definitely.
Okay.
Oh, thank
Good.
you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, I just for some reason I'm like, oh wow, that's definitely got that feel to it.
Yeah, definitely a band we enjoy.
So speaking of Mark, you shared like lead vocal duties with Mark, and I assume you shared songwriting duties as well. So um, I just want to know, how did the songwriting process work for Man Hands? Like, did you guys each come with things separately, or was it like a collaborative effort from the very start?
We would each come in with separate ideas. Think, yeah, we would have like the base of the song all worked out and then bring it to practice and then kind of add on and build onto that. A lot of times Mark would have ideas already for lead guitar parts because he was good at kind of like writing the bass, writing a lead, and kind of having everything. My songs were kind of more of a mess. And I'm like, all right, let's like try to form this and mold this into something. So but yeah, I think usually we would just come up with like a bass idea or a riff and then at practice kind of like put it together as a collaborative effort. And then he would sing the songs that he wrote and I would sing the ones that I wrote. He did write a couple where I would sit, he'd have me sing or we'd do like back and forth vocals, kind of like X style.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I was wondering about that. Like, did you always sing your songs and he always sang his, or did you guys ever like cross the streams?
We're pretty much we stuck to our own songs, but yeah, he would sometimes have me sing. He's like, "Oh, I have this song that I want you to sing on," and I'd be like, "All right, that's cool."
That's
So,
cool.
yeah,
So the last Manhan records or last man, oh, that's a tongue fucking twister. The
yeah.
last Manhands record that came out, New Malays, where did that name come from? And what did you okay, so let me rewind for a second. So I had this a guest on our show, and he titled both of his LPs self-titled. And I asked him, I'm like, well, how come you did both self-titled? And he was like, yeah, we just couldn't really, basically he said we couldn't really bother coming up with a name. Like they just didn't care enough or whatever. And so my question to you is like, where did the name New Malays come from? And B, like how big is naming a record to you guys? Like knowing like if that's going to be the permanent, that's what that record's going to be known from then on, like, is it a big deal to you guys naming the record? Is it a long process or anything?
Honestly, okay, my answer is terrible because I'm not good at coming up with names for anything. Like I stress out about like coming up with the perfect names, song titles, band names, album names. So Mark named this album. He's very creative and he's like a writer, and so he's better at that stuff than me. So when he came up with that, it was almost like left up to him. He wrote a lot of the songs on that album too. So I almost felt like that would be something good for him to take control of, and so I wouldn't have to stress about it. So at the same time, like, yeah, coming up with the album name I feel like is a big deal because you want the perfect thing that fits, that you're not going to regret later, that doesn't sound stupid, that's it. So I basically just couldn't stress about it, and he came up with the name and we were like, okay, that's cool. And honestly, I still don't, I feel like he explained it to me before, but I don't know even what it means.
You know, when you, I think, I'm pretty sure you guys sent me the record and I saw the name. I looked it up because I didn't know what it meant either. Like I had to Google it. But yeah, I can't remember offhand what it means either. But
I know, I feel like malaise means like despair or like hopelessness or something. I'm pretty sure, but yeah, I don't know what made him come up with that name. Like, you know what? Yeah, the process was, but yeah, so I was not very involved in that decision, but that's okay because I feel like at the time I kind of took the lead of like booking our shows and planning tours and doing all that stuff, getting our merch together. So he would do some more of the creative stuff, which made things a little easier.
oh yeah, I bet. Okay, so I just Googled malaise and it's a general feeling of discomfort, illness, or uneasiness. whose
Okay.
whose exact cause is difficult to identify.
Okay. All right. That sounds about right.
Yeah,
Maybe that just describes us as a band and how we feel in general.
yeah.
So I'll go
Yeah.
with that.
So, speaking of new malaise, am I even pronouncing it right? Isn't it malaise?
I think
Um,
so.
it came out on Slope Records, a label that's also released records from like some other pretty cool bands like Father Figures, Freaks of Nature, Christian Family, Scorpio vs. Tarantula. And if I am right about this, and correct me if I'm not, this was the first time you guys used a label, right?
Yeah.
And so how what came to the decision to use a label this time and particularly Slope?
From what I remember, I think after we recorded, Matt passed our record on to Tom from Slope, or he somehow got it. And I guess he loved it and wanted to release it on the label. And then we felt like at this point it was time for us to release an album on a label because we had just done a lot of self-releasing. Plus, we couldn't really afford to do vinyl on our own, so having a label do that for
Mm,
us was definitely helpful. But it just kind of felt like the next step for us as a band. It's like, all right, if we're going to move forward and try to do more, we should, connect with the label. And we liked all the bands on the roster. It was like really cool old punk, new punk, and we felt like we fit in well there. So we're like, all right, let's do this. So it was cool.
cool. Yeah, because I noticed the production is a step up on New Malaise also. So I didn't know if like maybe they like helped produce it or you guys already had it finished when they took it.
We had it mixed and I forgot who mastered it. I think they might have helped us get it mastered at like with a professional, but I honestly don't even remember. It took a long time for it to get put out too. So by the time it was finally put out, I was just like happy that it was done because we waited a long time and then we kind of had to do the contract thing with them. And but yeah, we were happy with the finished product though. It sounded really, really good and like a real professional record. So
Yeah, it sounds great. It really does. It's not the first LP, like physical LP you guys put out, right? Was it
yeah,
Miss?
it
It
is.
is?
Yeah, our other stuff was released on. We did CDs, cassettes,
Oh
and
yeah.
digital.
Okay.
So yeah, so it was our first actual like vinyl.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it took a while for us to do it. We're kind of slackers.
No. Well, I mean, especially now, I mean, you record one something tomorrow and it comes out, it has to, pressing plant issues and everything. It's like 2 years
Yeah.
later, you get your product.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Jade Helm. What made you decide to branch off and start that project?
I had a bunch of solo type songs that I didn't think really fit well with Man Hands, and I called them my sad girl songs. They were kind of like my more emotional type things that I don't know. I would just like play alone in my bedroom and whatever. So it took me years to have the confidence, but once I finally did, I decided to form Jade Helm and have like my solo band and get people to play in it. So yeah, I consider that band to be like my little baby. And yeah, and another person that I met who was a great musician, Alex. I asked him to play in it, and I feel like I couldn't do that band without him. He's just kind of like my other half when it comes to Jade Helm.
Hmm. And so, um, Jade Helm, and correct me if I'm wrong, released two 7 inches, one on another kind of famed Phoenix label, Gilgongo Records.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of that label prior to releasing your music through them?
Yeah, and I had met James like years and years prior. I feel like I've known James for like about 15, 16 years, just being part of the music scene. And then we had a band together back in the day called Mangled Men, like over 10
No,
years ago. Yeah,
I
we
don't
never
remember that.
released anything. We had recorded something and we're going to release it, but then never did. But yeah, James, I forgot how he heard Jade Helm. I don't even remember how he got a hold of the music, but he really liked it and wanted to put it out on Gilgongo and was like, "Yeah, let me put this out on a 7 inch." I had recorded like a little EP of like 5 songs and put it on a CD, and
Mm.
he had the idea to release it as like a 7 inch, one song on each side. So we ended up doing two of those, 2 song 7 inches. Yeah, and I think James also helped me like have the confidence to do that band and kind of release stuff because he really believed in it. So yeah, that helped me a lot too.
That's cool. None of that stuff's on Bandcamp, right?
I think I let me see. I think I wrote down that Jade Helm is on SoundCloud and then Manhands has stuff on Bandcamp, but I have to yeah, I think I should get some stuff on there. I'm so bad at like doing the whole uploading stuff and promoting and try to get better at it, but
Yeah. Well, I don't know that it's. I can imagine. I mean, like even with this little thing, like Josh and I don't really promote it much. We just got an Instagram. We
oh
promote it
nice.
on our personal like social media stuff, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like especially I can't even imagine, writing music, recording it, and like doing and then having to like go on social media and peddle it. It's like at that point I wouldn't even want anything to do with that either. Can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, it's just a lot of work and it's like I don't know, I'm getting older now and I'm tired and I just don't want to put in all the effort. Like when I was younger I was like go 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 and book all these tours and all these shows and I want to play everything and do it all, and now I'm just like, man, I'm tired. It's like I'd rather take a nap than do all this shit.
Oh,
But
believe me, I
yeah.
know that feeling very well.
Yeah.
So aside from making music, you have a pretty good DJ gig going on. Aside from like lugging crates of records, what do you feel? Okay, so again, I want to preface a song or preface this question. I am I'm pretty sure I'm quite a bit older than you. And we used to go to this bowling alley when I was in high school in Scottsdale, and there would be this DJ there, okay, and he had like the full, he had a couple turntables, and he had all his milk crates of records, like totally surrounding him, and he's like, yeah, he's like, look through it and pick some songs that you want, and so we pick through it, and he'd write like our name and the song on, and he'd put on the cover of the LP on a Post-it note, and he'd put on his, in his stack, and so I was like, okay, that's cool, and so we would do that every week. We'd go to the DJ and pick our songs, and then one time we went we went in there, and it was just him and a table and his laptop.
Oh no.
And we're like, well, what are we supposed to do? And he goes, oh man, he's like, I can do any song, just tell me. And then we just kind of looked at each other like, well, I don't know. So I'm just curious. So what are, other than like lugging the crates of records, what do you think are pros and cons of like DJs that do like digital music and DJs that still play like physical vinyl?
I can't claim to be an all vinyl DJ because what I basically do now is I do vinyl to digital. So I have my crates of records that I lug, but I also have a tablet that I have a lot of songs on, because a lot of the music I want, I can't afford to constantly buy all these records.
Oh yeah.
And having a weekly night, it's like I always need to have new stuff or try to have new stuff because we get a lot of regulars and stuff. So I kind of have to do the back and forth digital to vinyl. So, I mean, I could see the pros and cons of both. And I have a lot of friends that do digital too. It's just kind of easier, less wear and tear on your records, and you're not bringing them out every week and destroying them, and these like old records that you've had forever. So, I mean, I definitely have a lot of respect for the vinyl DJs and like Degents. I don't know if you know Degentrification. He's the best DJ in Phoenix. He's incredible. It's like he's on a whole other level with DJing.
Really?
Yeah, he's amazing. You'll have to see him sometime or check out his stuff. I could even send you a link to one of his record bar radio sets.
Oh yeah.
So,
I'd like to hear that.
But he does all vinyl, and the way he does it, it's like an art form. It's like the beat matching and the scratching, and then these weird rare songs that you've like never heard in your life. And the way he does it, it's just like all the skill involved. Like, to me, that's impressive. I almost feel like the digital gear takes a lot of the work out of it, and you just kind of press buttons and it makes it easy, but also I understand why. Then you could just kind of go up there, program some stuff, play it, it's fun, everyone enjoys it. So I'm kind of on the fence about it. I kind of lean more towards the old school way of vinyl and analog style, but I also understand that I need to kind of get with the times and be more comfortable with like digital and technology, because I get scared of it and I'm like, I don't know how to do it, and then I feel like this old lady that I need to learn.
I understand exactly where you're coming from. Like even starting this, like editing and everything, like I'm getting better at it now, but oh my gosh, it's like, so yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
yeah, it's stressful, and I feel like all the kids all know how to do it already because I guess they've grown up with it.
Oh yeah, from like age 3.
Yeah, so it's kind of like catching up, and like with technology, it's not fun.
So how did you get started doing this? The DJ thing.
DJing. Back in the day, I would go to like dance clubs a lot, and I remember going to a night called the Hot Pink, which was at Carumba on like 16th Street, McDowell, and I just kind of became obsessed with everything that they were playing. They played like a lot of old punk and like post punk, and I fell in love with it, and I wanted to learn how to do it. So I asked a couple people who would go there if they can kind of show me how to DJ and show me the ropes. So I think my first DJ gig, I started at Bikini Lounge, and this was probably like 16 years ago. And a local DJ kind of let me go on the decks and kind of feel it out and get comfortable with it. Yeah, so I kind of learned on the spot. Like, he was just kind of like, okay, this is the mixer, this is what you do, this is what you press, and go ahead and try it. So I kind of got to learn in the field. Yeah, and it was fun. And then I do it as a hobby for years, and then just recently I realized, oh, I can kind of do this as a job and make some money doing it as like my side gig.
Mhm.
So yeah, I kind of fell in love with it. It's really fun.
When you are choosing songs, is it kind of like, I mean, this is just the way I imagine it in my head. Is it kind of like making like a big mixtape? Like you want to try to get the songs like flowing into each other and you don't want to get anything too, you know, different in tempo or whatever, you know. Is that similar
Yeah.
to what you go through when you're doing that?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm always trying to beat match in my head, and then I'll have a song on and I'll just be like, okay, what's the perfect song that matches this? And I have to go through like 100 songs in my head really fast, to try to find the song, because I don't usually plan sets ahead of time. So it's kind of like I improvise. So it's like, yeah, trying to find the perfect tempo, the song that flows with the next song. And like sometimes it doesn't go exactly the way I want it to go, but I don't know. I feel like I've gotten more confident in matching now the tempo and making sure it's a smooth transition.
I can imagine like when you're there, you know, how you said you like to improvise. I can imagine when you're there and you're just kind of feeling a certain vibe and then not what you put on your pre like your pre-recorded playlist and then being like, I don't want this song right now, or whatever,
Yeah.
'cause,
It definitely
yeah.
depends on the mood, and like, sometimes the people that are there, like I'll notice if certain crowds show up, I'll cater more towards them. There's like a group of kind of like goth kids that come, so when they come, I kind of cater to what I think that they're going to want to listen to. Or when the punks show up, or people that I know in that are in bands that I like, I kind of play for them and stuff that I think they'll like. So it just kind of depends on the crowd. Or like last
Oh,
night
that's cool.
I was in a nostalgic cheesy mood, so I was playing kind of more 80s stuff, kind of poppy 80s groove stuff. But yeah, I think it just depends on the vibe of the night and how you're feeling.
So, I just thought of this. It's funny that you mentioned goth kids. It seems like goth is coming back. Like, my daughter, well, she just graduated high school, but in her high school, there were, like, full-on goth kids, like, makeup and, like, bondage belts and, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, "What? Where's this coming from?" You know?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's big again. It's like I feel like the biggest night, like at the place where I DJ at Gracie's, it seems like their goth night seems to be the biggest night of all like the DJ nights. And
Wow.
and the kids love it. I say the kids like but in their early 20s and stuff, but they get all decked out and they have these like amazing outfits and the hair and the makeup, and they look so cute, and I'm just like, I don't know, I love it. It makes me happy because
It does, yeah, I 'cause it didn't seem like kids really were into music much anymore. Like, I was mentioning my daughter, I'd ask her because she really likes music, and I'm like, "Oh, are any of your friends in bands, or are there any bands at your high school?" No. I was like, "No." I'm like, "How can you?" In my high school, I went to two. There was at least half a dozen bands. I mean, just
yeah,
cheesy ones, but there are still groups of kids getting out and playing music,
yeah,
on their own. But apparently, that's not a thing anymore. I guess I don't know.
yeah. It's weird. I heard someone once say like guitar is dead or something. So I don't know if it's like, what are they doing now? Are they doing like the SoundCloud rapper thing? That this is where I turn
Hmm.
into a lady. I'm like, I don't know what kind of music they're making or what they're doing. I know a bunch of my friends are still doing bands, but we're all like in our 30s now. I mean, a bunch of the punk scene still, like the hardcore bands and stuff, are still like younger people, but it's still kind of like an underground punk scene. So I don't even know what kind of music the even younger generation is doing.
It's not, I can't imagine it being anything noteworthy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of electronic stuff, you
Yeah.
know.
It's like I don't even think I want to know. So
Yeah, nah, nothing to take notice of. I don't think. I'm probably gonna be wrong. But so
Never know.
yeah. So it's been a few years since any Man Hands or Jade Helm music. You have anything in the works now that things are starting to maybe? I know we talked about this a little bit before, but now that things are starting to open up, is playing live shows something you guys are looking into at all? Or
I mean, I would definitely love to. I've been kind of trying to get everyone back together. So hopefully we can start jamming again soon and playing shows. I've been working on songs at home. I kind of have like Jade Helm ready to start practicing. Like everyone seems
ah
down and interested, and we're gonna do kind of like a more post-punk style, kind of just take it in like a different direction, maybe add synth and make it a little bit darker. So
nice.
yeah, so I'm hoping that'll happen soon, but it's just kind of hard getting everyone together, and like a couple people are really busy or like night jobs versus day jobs. So just kind of
Mm.
getting the scheduling figured out. And then once we can do that, I'd love to be playing shows again because I miss it so bad. It's like every time I go to a show, I'm like, I want to play. So it's like, yeah, I feel like I just need to kind of make it happen.
Yeah, gosh, man. If Jade Helm or Manhands get back together soon, I'm gonna pay close attention to that because I want to be there.
Oh, thank you. I'll let you know. And hopefully I'll hit up Man Hands again soon. Maybe tonight, right after this. And I'll be like, all right, you guys, let's do this.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, because I miss them a lot too. They're always so much fun to play with.
Tell them I just talked to a guy that really liked their band and
Yeah.
let's do it for him.
Dude, that might be enough motivation. They might be like, all right, let's do this.
Oh man, that'd be so great. That'd be so great. Um, so I was talking to somebody recently and about, and I don't know why this city we kept paying attention to, but Denver has all these really great music festivals, right? And Phoenix has a lot of crappy ones. But Jackie, you used to put on Vag Fest, and I mean, if I remember, you had Alice Bag play at one of the Vag Fest. So, um, what made you kind of stop doing that? And do you ever think about starting something like that back up here?
Yeah, I would definitely like to do it again one day. There were a couple situations that happened that made me stop doing the fest. Um, I don't know if I should go into the whole story without going into too much detail.
The post interview. Okay, that's
Yeah,
another one I want to
it's
know.
there was a little drama. I mean, 2 years
Mm,
in a row, two bands decided to physically attack me because they felt like
what?
they didn't get the pay that they deserved. They
Oh,
felt like they didn't get the right pay, and I was very transparent about it. Locals all got like $60 for the show, and then the headliners I would pay 100 to 200 depending on how big they were, which is not even that much money, I know, but
no, I
it
mean
was.
that's decent guarantee. I mean,
Yeah, and honestly, that was all I could really get from like Yucca. They couldn't pay out a lot, and I understand. We try to get as many people there as possible. I even did a raffle to try to raise more money to give to the bands and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, like punk shows don't make a ton of money, and it was a fest with a lot of locals and a couple headliners that people knew. So yeah, 2 years in a row, two bands got very upset, and one like came at me, like kind of lunged at me, and friends had to like pull them back and jump in. And yeah, and I was just like, i I couldn't believe that a band was acting this way over pay, because for years we had played so many shows with either not getting paid or only getting paid, maybe like $30 or getting paid in beer. So I was just kind of like, this isn't, you know uh, I don't know, just the way people acted kind of turned me off to the whole experience, because it was supposed to be something to like, camaraderie with women in the music scene and, making
yeah,
friends. And I don't know, I was doing it because I loved it and because it was fun. And I didn't expect people to react that way over money.
yeah, that is pretty disappointing.
Yeah. So then after that, I decided to take a step back, and I'm like, I'm putting so much work into this thing, and you know, I don't know. They kind of ruined it for me a little bit. So I'd love to do it again someday, but maybe just stick with people that I know personally and not try to get
Yeah.
all these different bands from all these places and people that I haven't worked with before. It was amazing to have Alice Bag come out and play, though. She's so sweet and she's
Oh, it's
so
good to
down to
hear.
earth and cool and just amazing. I mean, she's such a badass. So having her play was definitely like a highlight.
That's great. Yeah, because you weren't mentioning her, and I'm like, oh, please don't tell me it was Al's bag that
Oh
much.
yeah, no, no, she was the sweetest thing ever, and yeah, no, she was total delight to work with.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, yeah, that I could definitely see that. I mean, on a much smaller scale, I dealt with sometimes that with when I'd interview people and people would be like, I get everything from like a band like in Germany that's released 1 7-inch, and I couldn't find jack shit on them. Okay, like I couldn't. How am I supposed to interview these guys? I don't even. They have nothing anywhere. I don't even. And so, but they have an awesome record, and I really would like to talk to them. So I just, you know, just like grasp at straws as far as like these questions. They'd be like, "Yeah, these questions suck, man." And I'm like, well,
Oh
what do you want from me, dude?"
yeah,
I don't know what to talk to you about. You have 2 songs out in the world. I don't know what you want. You're acting like, David Lee Roth on me
oh
here.
my god,
I
yeah, when
don't
people
know.
have the diva attitude, it's like, come on, they should be grateful that people even want to talk to them and ask questions about their band. So, that's just silly when people act like that.
I know. I know. And this will be for the post interview, but I remember talking to you about this a long time ago, but I had one person that was pretty sort of famous, especially in the underground world, um, totally be cool in the interview, but when they realized um, I wasn't going to be able to put it out the next day to coincide for their show here, they fumed.
Oh, I feel like
And
I don't remember who it
I
was.
know, I'll remind you. I'll remind you
Okay,
when we stop
okay.
recording.
I
But
remember hearing about this, but
yeah, and I'm like, where does all this animosity come from? You were so cool on the phone, like just a couple days ago, and just because I couldn't get it out, and I kept trying to tell him like, this isn't a local thing. I'm like, it's very few local people probably even read my blog. It's like a national thing. I mean, we have a lot of people in other countries that read us. It's not all Arizona. I'm sorry. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks when people have to behave that way. And it totally makes you disillusioned from wanting to do anything. You're just like, you know what? It's like,
yeah, yeah. As soon as egos start to get involved, it totally ruins it for everybody. And it's like, hey, this is supposed to be fun. We love music. Like, don't turn it into something else? So it's
I
frustrating.
know. But it almost seems like, I don't know. It almost seems like it's as soon as the money gets involved and that becomes the most important thing, then that's when people start lashing out. Because the few shows that I put on here, it's like $250 was the guarantee, and that was from like, you know, touring bands. I mean, that's doesn't. I mean, that's not much more than what you talked about, but I don't know. Yeah, it sucks. But
And
Um, anyway, as we wind things down, Jackie, where I know you mentioned like a SoundCloud and Bandcamp, but where can people go to follow you, your bands, listen to your music?
let me see. I have down Manhands. We're on Spotify, Bandcamp, and SoundCloud. Jade Helm is on SoundCloud, and we have stuff on YouTube. Both bands, you can order records from Slope Records and Gilgongo. They both have them on their websites. And then, yeah, you could find me on Instagram, Jazzmaster Jax. And then I usually post my DJ nights that are coming up on there and sometimes, music stuff. So yeah, any of those places you can find us. And then we have Facebook
Perfect.
pages too. So
Perfect. Yeah, I know New Malaise is on Spotify, but I don't think it's on your Bandcamp.
oh, is it not?
I
Okay,
don't think so.
shoot,
I know
I'll
the
check.
first I could be wrong, but as far as from what I remember, it was the first 2 LPs only. Um,
Okay.
but I didn't know if that was like a slope thing or what.
Maybe it was because I know somewhere in the contract, which I don't remember all the details, they kind of had I think they maybe have control over digital sales of that album. So I could be wrong though. I don't remember all the details.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was something like that. But well, let me read my little outro spiel here, and then we can get I want to ask you some other questions
Yeah, no
we're
problem.
talking about.
Yeah.
Um, so again, thank you, Jackie, for chatting with me. And thank you, the listener, for tuning in to our humble broadcast. If you like what you've heard, please hit that subscribe button. And if possible, leave us a review of our podcast, because not only does it help our show, of course, but it also helps spread the word on all the amazing folks we have on our show. So this is Jay without Josh of the Born Too Late podcast, signing off. Thanks, Jackie.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.